Hello and welcome to Football 301. I'm your host, Nate Tice. We are here to recap a wild and wonky day of week 5 NFL action. There were some shenanigans today, some cheeky, some a little evil, somewhere in between. But to help me do that, like every Sunday, and we preview these shows or these weeks every Thursday, my guy, Mr. Forverts, Charles McDonald. How you doing today, Chuck? I don't know how to ask that question because it kind of the tone of it is kind of like, and I don't know how today went. It was very, very, very weird. But how you doing today, Chuck?
It was a weird day. I will say about 2:45 Eastern, I was really fighting the urge to cut off these games and play Ghost of Yote because it was bad. Like it just didn't seem like we were going to get anything close because there were a bunch of blowouts. Like it looked like the Panthers were about to get boat raced by the Dolphins. A whole bunch of mess, and then we got some stuff at the end of the witching hour. Not maybe as strong as the past month, but still. NFL Sunday delivers you something every single week. So we got some stuff to pull at,
Very schlocky witching hour. It wasn't like a high class, like high standard, like highbrow witching hour. It was kind of like one of those B movie type of witching hours today, but it was enjoyable. Some stuff happened I'm going to remember. We'll probably forget in a week or two. But before we jump into our highs and lows from week 5, make sure to check us out on the Yahoo Sports Network, our brand new streaming TV channel. The Yahoo Sports Network is available to stream on leading fast services or on yahoosports.tv. So every week here, as we recap Sunday, we get into the ups and downs of that day's action with 3 highs, 3 lows. All right, let's start with the game that kind of was the keystone game of the morning slate. That is the Broncos going to Philly, taking down the Eagles. The Broncos win this game 21-17. And what was, some passing games that were kind of scattershot throughout the day. I have some thoughts on that, but I thought this was a Vance Joseph great performance from that Broncos defense, especially in the second half of the game. I thought they adjusted very well. I can get into that in a second. But Charles, what were some of your takeaways from this huge Broncos win on the road in Philly?
Man, a weird game for the Eagles because they kind of did the same thing that they've been doing the whole season, where they have one half that's kind of quality play, and the second half or the first half is pretty abysmal. But like their high half this week didn't really get that far. In the first half, they scored 10 points. They had 5.6 yards to play, 40% success rate. But unfortunately, they had an average starting field position of their own 13-yard line, which is pretty tough. Like if on average for a whole half, you got to go damn near the length of the field to score a touchdown, and especially where this offense has been so inconsistent. It was tough for them against a good defense. And in the second half, it got even worse. They only ran the ball one time in the second half, even though they entered the second half with a lead. They ran the ball one time for 0 yards.
I thought that was like the stats hadn't updated yet. And so I was just like, I'm going to check on this in like 10, 15 minutes. And then I asked Keegan Abdu, our friend from Next Gen Stats, I was like, can you verify that they one design, 24 plays, one design run, 23 passes? Some were RPOs, but still. Whoa.
Yeah. Because I saw like they had a 0% rushing success rate in the second half. So I went to go just look at how many carries they had. 1 carry for 0 yards. They had 9 design runs for the whole game. So that's just kind of little strange once you enter the second half of the lead, and then second half again they also struggled to throw the ball too. So I don't know. It's just another week where it's like you're spending way too much money on this offense to get this kind of offensive output, and then just kind of a weird from a play calling or RPO decision making perspective to only have one design run after halftime when you walked out of there with the lead. You walked out the first half of the lead. That's a pretty embarrassing like second half for the Eagles. And then they just let Bo Nix and the Broncos just light them up in the second half. So no good from Philly.
Yeah, I'll start with the Broncos first, and it really did feel like just like as the game went along, like it was just so reliant on big plays, which is what the Eagles passing game should be. Anyways, that's like they should only throw goes, slants, and hitches and stops. Like that's all they should throw. But Cortland Sutton had a great game. I thought, just some key plays. He had that fade on third down at the end of the game. but Quinion Mitchell followed him throughout the game, like 3/4 of the time. And Sutton finished with 4 catches on 6 targets and 61 yards against them, and including that third down. But yeah, the 2-point play from Sean Payton, love that. Loved going for the lead and on the road. I'm a big fan of whatever coaches do that, but gives them the lead in the fourth quarter. That concept was just like a little. Basically it's a sprint out. It's a front side bootleg, but like why you sprint out with that route that Troy Franklin ran, which is like it's kind of like an out route. It's like a whip route kind of thing. Colorado, you can call it. It just changes the angles of the throws. So I like that. It was just like a nice old school design. But man, Vance Joseph just adjusted so well throughout this game. Ton of man coverage in the first half. Switches more zone in the second half. In the first half, they ran 12 dropbacks of zone, 10 dropbacks of man coverage. Second half, 18 dropbacks of zone coverage, 5 dropbacks of man coverage. And Hurts versus zone, 30 dropbacks, 14 of 23. Okay, that could go either way. 138 yards, 6 yards an attempt, 6 sacks, all came against zone coverage. Against man, he went 9 for 15, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9.5 yards an attempt. That's why you don't play man against this team, and that's why you force them to beat you in zone, especially if they're not going to run the ball, because they're doing so. Some of that the run stuff, and I'll have to like check, and it's so hard to find RPO numbers. Were runs with RPO tags, and the zone looks were giving them the throw reads. But sometimes this is what the Chiefs figured out a few years ago. This is what the Bills figured out a few years ago. Sometimes F the read and just hand the ball off. Yeah. Because the box is still good to run the ball. So it's just the same. It's just the Eagles offense, man. They just can't like sort this. They can't find the balance of their offense. But Eagles went 2 for 11 on third down. They didn't have any fourth down attempts this entire game, which is unique for them because that means they're getting in within 4th and 3, 4th and 2s, 4th and 1s. The Eagles, so I was looking it up. They averaged 9.1 yards to go on third down. They had some penalties, weren't really getting going on first and second down. Since Hurts took over as a full-time starter in 2021, that's the second longest average distance to go that the Eagles have faced on third down in whatever. So since 2021, it's only the third time he's faced an average of 9 or more yards to go, which was week 13 was more in 2023 at 9.4 yards, only one longer. So they were just, that's the goal against this offense, create a bunch of third and longs and make them drop back. And they did it. Penalties again do help. And then I'll just talk about one blitz he brought. It wasn't even a blitz, it was a creeper technically. A creeper is if you show a blitz, but you bring 4, but it's non-traditional rushers like DBs, and you drop 7. He had the one at the third down. It was when McMillan got the sack or part of the sack. Him and Hufanga came on each edge, and no matter what, the running back is screwed because those are technically both his guys unless you adjust the protection. So it was just like a perfect call at a perfect time. And that's the second half just really felt like that. Vance Joseph just had the advantage throughout the last 2 quarters of this game.
Yeah, that was a really impressive showing by Denver's defense. And I it's like I don't want to keep making it about the Eagles, but I just find it kind of interesting that you can spend this much on offense, right? And nothing really seems to be working, or they're just in the funk. But at least like when you're dealing with issues like they are, at least you're still 4-1 and sitting pretty with the division. But it's not even all just on the offense because. The defense, like they had one of those Jekyll and Hyde games too. In the first half, they held the Broncos to 3.2 yards per play. In the second half, they got carved up, and I think Bo Nix went something like 14 for 18, and kind of shredded them in the second half, and like even allowed him to get back in the game after it looked like he was really struggling in the first half. So they've just got to figure out to find some way of continuity because they were just playing with fire so much the last few weeks. They were kind of due for one of these games not to go in their favor. But that was a really fun performance by the Broncos defense. Like they really stepped up to the occasion, especially in the second half when Vance Joseph kind of, figured out that, hey, A.J. Brown and these guys, they're kind of killing us on the outside with this man coverage. We should make them think a little bit.
Yeah. Let's run some cover 2. Let's mix this thing up behind us. Before we wrap up this game, I thought the refs had a bad one. They might have had the worst showing of the entire game. Bogus OPI contact. The refs have been really trigger happy on calling OPI and pick plays, or perceived pick plays. So there was a bad one today. The intentional grounding on Bo Nix or the non-intentional ground, I can't even remember now. That was a weird kind of sequence as well. But then Nix followed up with probably his best throw of his career. I think it was 3rd and 15, and he pins it on Cortland Sutton's chest on a 3rd and 15. He actually throws it really early, and then you actually hear it hit Sutton's chest pad, which I thought was pretty cool. Then you got the Zach Bond fumble or flag at the end of the game. But Yeah, just and then the last kind of note on the Eagles, because I agree, they're just fascinating to talk about. Like, congrats to the Broncos, everything. Thought the defense did well, but I just this Eagles offense, like narrowing down those routes. Like, I joke, but I'm dead serious. They should only run slants, hitches, and goes. Slants today, 5 of 6, 51 yards. Hitches, which are like stop routes as well, 4 for 4, 37 yards. Go routes, 1 for 3, 52 yards, plus the big play to Devontae Smith that got called back for the illegal shift, which was another play where it's like this Eagles team just can't get out of its own way. Like, where they just, the times they try to do a motion, because they're not a team that does a ton of motion, there they are getting a legal shift on it. It's like they just are just one step behind, just one page behind on offense. Even when they did some cool tight end stuff, some outside zone stuff, RPOs, that kind of hindered them in the long run, because then the kind of became so pass skewed. So just a wonky day for them. We kind of summarized this day nicely. Also, we had a beautiful Saquon Barkley touchdown against Alex Singleton. That was cool. And that was. And an AJ Brown Patrick Surtain battle was pretty fun. Got to give that a shout out as well.
Yeah, I think the Saquon Barkley play was the play that made Vance go, okay, nope. We gotta start fixing something.
I think it was. That was man. Yeah, because it was man coverage. Yeah. And he was like, okay, enough of this. We got a 40 number covering Saquon Barkley. Done. Yeah. That's a great call. Because I wonder what the splits are after that play. I bet you like it was barely any man coverage after that particular play. All right, moving on. Too high, number 2. It was, just a really fun game, and a really fun game means a lot of points. And that was the Bucs ascend to 4-1, beating the Seahawks in Seattle. It's been a rough weekend for Seattle sports. Hopefully the Mariners can turn around against Scooball tonight. We'll find out by the time people listen to this tomorrow morning. But no, Bucs win 38-35 at Lumen Field. Really fun game. Shoot, not to, I'm again to Baker and what he did today too, but Sam Darnold finished with a success rate of like 73% today and lost because he had the one pick at the end against a really good blitz that it caught the Seahawks there. But what do you think about this game? What do you think about the Bucs pulling this off? No matter what the injuries they have, they just keep finding a way. We can just next man up, and Baker's finding his moments too.
Yeah, I was extremely impressed because I thought that this was going to be a game where they could potentially struggle on offense coming into it, just based on the matchup that they had, and the offensive line. It just kind of felt like with the injuries and trying to figure out like just a good cohesion for that group. I thought they were kind of in store for a tough day, but man, Baker was awesome. Like that might be the best game I've ever seen him play. Especially when you like the touchdown to Ibuka on the back of the end zone where he just like drilled it over a line. Unbelievable throw. If you're a Baker fan, like this is kind of what you gravitate to, right? With just sometimes when he's planted and it's all lined up in a good spot, he can make some really incredible throws with his arm strength. And today is one of those days where he was hot. And Emeka Ibuka just continues to be like completely unguardable. Today on his targets, he went 7 for 7, 163 yards, a touchdown, 18.8 air yards per target, 2.16 EPA per target. I mean, this guy's a rookie. And it makes me think about, I guess, kind of his usage at Ohio State, because I was like, I thought he was a good player, but I didn't see like him being this down the field like absolute monster that he's been for Tampa Bay so far. So that looks like an absolute home run, and like they're not even at full strength yet. So that's a really good showing for Tampa Bay. I think you should feel incredible after that game. And even Seattle on offense, Sam Darnold had a great day before that final pick, and that was one of their best days coming into this too. So really, really fun game, and a lot more points than I expected. A lot more.
Yeah, I thought both teams just threw haymakers. It was awesome. Yeah. Like, and they were connecting too. Like, both teams were designing stuff well. Some was execution. Some was like, Baker was extending a bunch of plays. The Seahawks didn't blitz them as much. Looking back, they again simulated creeper stuff, which technically is not a blitz. Like, they brought some of those that caught them, but like, I thought that was curious. I'm really excited to watch this game back. Baker finished just raw stats: 29-33, 379 yards. Only took 1 sack, which is huge. Darnold didn't get sacked at all. I thought, Seahawks did a pretty good job of controlling the run game and forcing Baker to throw. And he just kept, I felt like against zone coverage, he just kept finding a guy, just somewhere over the middle, hook over the middle. And then when he was, of course, launching it, Ibuka is just turning into this 3-level, both receivers, JSN, I'll include in this too. Guys I really like, both from Ohio State, and both are like 3-level monsters now that I liked both guys a lot. And I'm like, this is more than I ever expected of either of you. This is cool. But man, yeah, Bucks finished with a success rate of 55.3%. Seahawks over 70%. The huge thing, Bucks had 10 explosive passes today. Most they've had since week 15 of 2023. 10 of their 34 dropbacks were explosive passes. So it's hard to defend an offense that's just ripping those off. And I thought the Seahawks had cool stuff on their offense too. And I mean, their run game got going again, especially in the second half. That first drive of the second half was beautiful. Outside zone plays. I thought they were kind of gonna. I was like, I figured it was the Seahawks' day at first when that tip ball happened to Cooper Kupp when they were backed up, and I was like, oh, okay, it's their day. They're gonna team of destiny. They're gonna win this. And I mean, credit to the Bucks for just fighting, pulling it off.
Yeah. They. I mean, the second half, both quarterbacks averaged around 1 EPA per dropback. Baker was at 1.06. Sam was at 0.99. So, at least one defense made a play to close the game out at the end. But it didn't really feel like it was necessarily like horrible defense in all these plays, because some of them were just some really incredible throws and plays made by the offensive players. And it's crazy enough, like they just kept happening in succession on both sides, where like even the Mekabuka touchdown, like the one we were just talking about, like that throw is difficult because the coverage had pinned him in the back of the end zone, which is like where you want the throw to go, because there's not much room before you get to the sideline. So you're hoping that you can probably just get an airmail or maybe force him out, and it just landed in the right perfect spot. So it was just kind of a fun battle of execution between these offenses, and they played so well. And then Tampa Bay's defense stepped up to make a play at the end. Old Levante David, who's we're giving a little bit of crap to on this show, came back.
Elijah Arroyo gave him the business at one point. Yeah, there he is, getting the pick at the end.
Yeah. There were a couple of like Kenneth Walker plays. Was like, ooh, buddy, I don't know how much longer you got, but then he sealed the day.
I thought it was interesting. I mentioned the run play duo all the time. I know that. I know it's a bit, but the Seahawks, who are such a heavy zone team, were running duo today, which I was like, against Vita Vea, against that Bucs defense, really? And those were the plays that Kenneth Walker was popping on, and it was because Levante David and the Bucs linebackers were burying themselves, and so he was just, and then he jump cut and get north, which he was running. He looked really good on those. The Baker touchdown to Ibuka though, that for the post one, that is that when they talk about NFL arm, and I know some people kind of like roll their eyes about like arm strength, and they think that's just like a pretty boy thing that scouts are just fascinated with. Those are the throws that's an NFL arm throw, because if you're one hitch late, one split second late, or you don't have an overwhelming arm, like that play's batted down by NFL defenders, because that's an NFL window throw. And that's why it was so cool to see. I always go nuts about it. Like, I think it was double post or it was a dig post, but anyways, it was 2 in-breakers. And those throws I love. It's a classic high red zone, like 18-yard line to 25-yard line. That's where you call that. And I just love when teams like connect on it and a quarterback connects on it. Yeah. And then I forgot Ibuka followed up with a 2-point conversion. He got the octopus, which is I love a good octopus. Don't get to see those every day.
2 octopuses today. We had 2 today.
Who had the other one?
Jonathan Taylor had one as well in the Colts obliteration of the Raiders. Yeah.
Oh, we'll get into that. Don't you worry. No, and then yes. Also, again, want to give a shout out to Darnold. I mentioned the success rate stuff. He was great against the blitz. He went 10 of 13, 135 yards, had a touchdown until the very end, and then he gets blitzed one too many times, gets heated up. Todd Bowles, great pressure. That's where condensed splits can really screw you, because they hid the slot pressure, and that was that. So, and then Rachaad White, his touchdown was really nice. Tristan Wirfs, Kate Otten, pin pull, they pulled. But I was talking about this with Matt, where Rachaad White's becomes, and you a little bit, where it's coming, like Rachaad White's gotten a lot more patient as a runner. And that touchdown was like the perfect, like, epitomization of that, because he like hesitated real quick, and then defenders buried themselves inside, and he just popped it in for the touchdown. Really, really nice. But great game. Not really knocking the Seahawks much, because I just thought the Bucs just threw the haymakers and connected every single one. Really fun game between 2 good teams. All right, getting on to high number 3, and this was a last-second addition from the Football 301 crew. This is this could be a low, this could be a high, this could be just unbelievable because no matter what, I have to talk about the Cardinals somehow. And this way, we did in a high version. Cam Ward gets his first win in dramatic fashion. Probably the ugliest ending of a game I have seen in a long time, especially considering one of the teams I actually think is decent. But the Titans win 22-21. Man, get rewarded after they fail. If Brian Callahan does not go for two when down 2 scores, misses the extra point, down 9, and still gets rewarded with the win because the Cardinals cannot put this one away. Emma Cardo drops the ball right before the end zone for a touchback, and that started the comeback as the Titans score 16 unanswered. He also dropped the ball against the 49ers a couple weeks ago on should have been a walk-in touchdown. Man, Cam Ward, though. Great throw to Calvin Ridley at the end. That was pretty awesome. Yeah. Ridley finished with 131 receiving yards. What did you think about this game, Chuck? Because not going to lie, this one was in the bottom corner of my multi-view, and I was only glancing at it here and there.
I mean, the first 3 quarters of this game, I was actively trying to avoid this game because the Titans, they were getting their ass kicked.
PS5 noise.
No, I wish I was being a good boy today. We'll see what happens with the Sunday Night Football. We might get a little PS5 ping. But the first 3 quarters, the Titans, they had 41 plays for 115 yards, 2.8 yards per play. And it felt like it. Every time I looked at that game or it was being shown on the screen on Red Zone, they were just not doing things that you normally see good football teams do. And then in the fourth quarter, something switched where they doubled up their yardage in the fourth quarter from the first 3 quarters combined. They had 212 yards in the fourth quarter alone, 10.7 yards per attempt, 0.76 EPA per dropback, and almost 70% dropback success rate. So Cam Ward, that was the game that you want to see from him. Now, he did get a little lucky because there was an interception that turned into a double fumble that came with the Titans scoring at the end of the play. So you needed some wackiness to actually get across the finish line. But for a guy who is bared his soul to the media every week after these games, he has been lost.
I love it.
I love it too because it's honest. And I mean, what do you want him to say? We're working on this. No, you guys look terrible. Yeah. And he won, and he has been very honest about that. For him to actually get across the finish line and make those big throws and some of those big plays in the fourth quarter and on the final drive, I mean, that's what you want to see from him. And finally, because we've been saying, if you watch these games, he really doesn't look all that bad, comparatively to maybe what you see from normal rookie quarterbacks. So to see some of that stuff actually connect and get into the end zone and win that game, that was really cool to see.
Yeah, I know. And I honestly, the game management stuff's been the real negative there, but even the Titans actually have some well-designed plays where I'm just they
do.
It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but their execution sometimes is really shoddy. And so it was actually interesting to see it actually working for parts of it. The Titans had, the Cardinals had 28% rushing success rate today. I know they were starting Michael Carter and all that, but that's supposed to be the bread and butter of this team. And I'm just continue. I'm going to keep hammering myself for ignoring Clayton Adams leaving and them hiring an offensive line coach that's never coached in the NFL before. How did I not learn that from the Seahawks offense last year? But they also, they had a solid day. It was 41% success rate. They have a ton of explosive passes. That's kind of how it felt. He's been developing some chemistry with his younger guys, DK and A.O. Manor. I know, and when Helm's out there, he does like Helm, the tight end, as well. So it's cool to see some young guys kind of getting some run and actually connecting with Cam Ward because, that last ball to Calvin Ridley is what makes Ward so cool. He's got cojones. He's willing to chuck some stuff and but it's smart. It's within the structure of the play. It's not but he just picks aggressive options. That's why I end up really liking him as a prospect in the end. So it was kind of cool to see, like you say, him get rewarded for some of this as opposed to just another tough road loss where you have to travel halfway across the country again. And then that's it. I know, but the Cardinals, I got to figure out what the heck's going on because they're just weird. I don't even think their defense is that bad. I think the defense is pretty good. That was just a weird game.
You can't let this team do that to you. Not this team, No. This is what you're
not this team, exactly. It's so bad. Cowher got sacked 3 times. Yeah. Great win probability chart as well. Always love when you get to see
Yes.
the shoot through the moon, the crypto stock win probability chart. All right, let's move on. That could have been a low. It felt like that was the
Yeah.
lowest high we've given all season. But
Definitely.
anyways,
Definitely.
yeah, yeah. Get your stuff right, Arizona Cardinals. But congrats, Cam Ward. I'm excited to rewatch him. He's on the all rewatch team. He really is. Like you said, even if the stat lines aren't great, he's developing some nice stuff. He's got some good throwing,
Yeah.
good throwing moments, even with some iffy mistakes. But let's move on to the lows. And the theme for the lows today are teams that hit rock bottom. Cardinals kind of felt that way, but it's a long season. But low number one, the Raiders just completely unraveling against the Indianapolis Colts. Colts win 40-6, another 40 burger for this Colts team. And I mean, take a pick. Gino had a couple more picks today. What does he have? 9 on the season, potentially more.
Yeah,
and also, I got the
it's not good.
local like post game show, like the afternoon one here in Vegas. And there's like this old coach on, and he was just ripping the whole operation. He was like, what for? I don't even know who it was. He was like, for what they give Pete Carroll, he's like, I can get you at least one win. He's like, I just ripping into him. But the Colts were finished in the red zone 6 times, scored a touchdown 6 times. I got to figure out who the guy was. It was hilarious. He like just did not hold back. Colts went 8 for 10 on third down, 8 drives, 24 first downs on those 8 drives, 57 plays and 40 points, of course. They blocked a punt where AJ Cole, the punter for the Raiders, who's actually really good, got injured. Some brutal interceptions, including the one in the red zone where it got tipped up. Just other than that, how's the play, Mrs. Lincoln? Didn't get a sack on Daniel Jones once. What else you got on this game, Chuck? What else you want to pile on onto the Raiders now?
It was kind of a weird game for the Raiders. And I no. I like weird in the sense that what if I told you that on just straight up non-red zone plays, the Raiders had a passing success rate of 63% and overall success rate of 50% on non-red zone plays, right? So they like before they got to the 20, things were okay, but in the red zone they ran 14 plays for -8 yards in the red zone, and had the turnover you're talking about. I mean, just I don't know. It was another weird game because they have these moments sometimes where they look like a coherent offense and they're starting to move the ball, and then it just sputters out for one reason or another. Whether it's getting in the red zone, you can't figure it out, a third down, an interception. They just haven't been able to have like a really actually complete game on offense. But I think the real story with the Raiders is, holy crap, dude! Like, this defense can't do anything. They give up 6 straight touchdown drives. It's funny because the Colts' first drive was a 3-and-out. And then they scored 6 straight touchdown drives. And that was that. That was that.
Yeah.
Just really tough from the Raiders defense. I think even though the personnel wasn't great, I just kind of expected, when you look at what Pete Carroll has done, what Patrick Graham has done in his career, to be a little bit more organized, but they can't do anything. They stink.
Usually the units you look at are like, all right, how well coached this team is, whether it's fair or not, is the defense in totality, the offensive line, and special teams. It's kind of like, all right, how because those are units, so maybe you look at the back 7, they are sloppy. It's like Max Crosby make a play. If not, there's a guy out gap. They're over aggressive blitzers, like where they're just kind of like running. And so there's 2 guys in the gap and one gap's no one's in one gap. And then top of the, like I mentioned, the block punt, that red zone stat. You ever seen Cabin in the Woods?
No, I haven't.
Horror satire. Oh, recommend it. But Chris Hemsworth is in it, like right before he got famous, or right as he became Thor, and he's on a motorcycle and he hits a wall, and like a wall that you don't see, an invisible wall, and that's the red zone for the Raiders today. Just hey, everything looked great, everything looked flying, soaring through the air, and they hit it. If you see the visual, it'd make more sense. Bowers was out today, it has to be mentioned, but it's still, I mean, it's just the structure of this offense just feels wonky. I think their passing game is really. I'm using wonky too much, but I think the passing game is just very much like too basic or too limited, but not in the sense of like they can't handle it, but more like, oh, we only need 3 plays for our menu. And I think that's kind of really hindering them if they get behind the sticks, which happens a lot because of what how the O-line's playing. So, like you said, they have some nice moments. Like, I mean, shoot, watch Genty last week, and then watch the moments with Bowers when he is healthy, and watch, Trey Tucker having some flash moments. He had another one today, but it's just, this whole team feels uneven and spotty, and just kind of figuring out their identity and stuff. So it's just a blah performance. But man, the Colts just keep pounding people. They've become one of my favorite watches, which is just I've done two 180s on them. I mean, they play the Cardinals next week. So,
but I mean, as far as the Colts go, this is what good teams do to bad teams. They're good. They're a good team.
They're good.
The offense is good. Structured well. I mean, Daniel Jones is playing good football. Jonathan Taylor is absolutely crushing it this year. This is a fun offense. Yeah. It's a good offense. It's a good football team. I give up.
I know. I am enjoying watching them. I was highlighting Daniel Jones like ball placement throws. I'm like, oh my God, what happened? It's October 5th. It's not even like November. I'm like, I yield. They got the Cardinals next. Then they play the Chargers. Then they host the Titans. Okay, wow. They got actually a pretty relatively easy slate. At Steelers, host your Falcons. Then at Chiefs. Okay, interesting Colts. Gonna keep the good times rolling. But the Raiders are kind of pretty disappointing. I wasn't super high on them, but I thought they'd be a lot more interesting. I thought they'd be doing so much cooler things, not just be Pete Carroll. I've said this before. His teams is, if you're going to make a mistake, make it fast. So we're just going to win with speed. Look how the Commanders play at times. They can be a little sloppy, but they overcome it because it's like guys are on the ball. Guys are tipping up balls. Like, stuff happens if we're just near the ball. No one's near the ball other than Max Crosby, and it just feels the rest of the guys. It's just there. I know.
Not even there.
Not very fun to watch. Yeah, I know. Yeah, not even there. Even there. Might as well not be there. And the offense is just, Gino's pressing, and now he's just, and that's just a downward spiral there because you can't rely on the run game. So other than that, moving on to low number 2. This is, I don't know. I'm not really totally surprised by the result, but what's going on with this Jets defense? Because the offense has some moments, even if it's a little scattershot at times. But where is Aaron Glenn's defense? The Cowboys win 37-22. And they fall to 0-5. They had a Dolphins game recently where they had good moments on offense, but then just, I don't know, on defense right now, because they're just pretty bad, especially through the air, because I think they're pretty predictable. But what'd you think about this game? I do think a high, if we did do a high on this game, is, God dang, that Cowboys run game can really go. I'm just saying, again, Clayton Adams gets a shout out, but man, it's fun watching that offense right now. But what'd you think about this game?
I guess I'm just a little confused that it's not more organized than it's been the Jets defense. Because I think it's fair to have been a little dubious about where the talent level was coming off of the end of the Joe Douglas regime. Because it was a very top heavy defense that had lost guys over the past few years. Like when Robert Saleh first got there and they were like a top 5 defense, a lot of those guys aren't there or have retired and moved on to new teams. So they're still rebuilding it. But man, like, it just seems like they get shredded every week, and they don't really have a cohesive plan or identity of what they want to be on defense. Because you still got Quinnen Williams, you still got Sauce Gardner, but it just doesn't seem to matter. And again today, Dak Prescott, it looked pretty easy for him. Javonte Williams had another big game. The interior offensive line was mashing, and they just look like helpless almost, just to try and stop these other offenses, especially when it starts getting big and physical against them, like Dallas could do today. So just a really, really bad, unorganized team. And I just thought that, even though Aaron Glenn's the first-time head coach, it would just look not this bad. I thought we thought they would be like a little bit more competitive, like one of these teams that could beat up on the good team, beat up on the bad teams and give good teams some trouble. But they're 0-5, and they truly just look like one of the worst teams in the league. And I think it's mostly their defense's fault why they look like that. Like the offense, they blew some opportunities last week against Miami, but you giving up 37 points? Come on, that's trash.
This is one where we always use success rate, explosive plays. That's like kind of the usual ones. But this is where like yards per play kind of tells the story. the Cowboys had 7.1 yards per play today, even though that the Jets overall had a better success rate and more explosive plays because it was just those doubles, 10-yard gain, 9-yard gain, 11-yard gain. So the ones that don't get aren't those 20-yard shots all the time, and it's not just a little 4 yards, it's those in-between plays. And I thought, I mean, I looked it up. So after today, the Jets are 32nd in explosive passes allowed. There's 32 teams. 18.6 of pass attempts turn into explosive plays, gains of 16 yards or more. Then that's on top of the scrambles because they've allowed the most EPA to scrambles in the entire NFL this season. They're 31st in EPA per dropback. So even though they're 19 success rate, they're just getting, when they do get popped, they get popped. It's like, and I've kind of keep saying this is that Aaron Glenn's defense isn't very exotic or slash Steve Wilkes. But what's funny is they actually kind of run the same stuff. It's quarters a man. And I keep saying this, but it's very true. And today, why that kind of matters when you go against a quarterback like Dak, who's seen everything. All right, I just played against a funky Packers defense that was just doing all this crazy stuff. All right, now I'm going against Jets team. Oh, I know what you're in every single snap. So then that's why Dak just peppers him the entire game. Like, I mean, it was just like he had the answers. I mean, Ryan Flournoy, who actually is pretty good, I want to get into him in a second, is going for 114 yards. But it was like, all right, quarters, boom, peppering this. All right, man, we're running this man beater, peppering this. Like, it's unfazed the entire day. He had a QBR of 87.8 today. Like he was lights out, like 4 touchdowns, obviously, but just like the underlying stats, they can run the ball like whenever they want. They're doing the a lot of stuff out of 2-back looks with and like, so today they had 12 plays out 2-backs for 78 yards, 2 touchdowns and 50% success rate. They're doing some cool stuff in the passing game wise. They're doing I wanted to highlight this. It's a check, or a chip, where, a tight end's chipping and then they lead block for the running back swing route. And so like teams are weaponizing that. And it was pretty cool. Like on a 3rd and 10, they did it to Hunter Lepke. And it's more like you're running the deep downfield plays and that's just the underneath stuff. But like teams are really doing that. And I'm kind of digging it. The Packers have been doing it for years, but like the Bucs started doing it a bunch. And I just saw the Cowboys do it now. I'm like, yeah, I like that this is kind of proliferating around the league because now all the defenses think they got the chips down. And now the offense, right. Like when you chip, you're only running this route. So we can just like negate you and do this. Now the offense has kind of got a new answer to it. So sorry, that was just like a little side rant about this because I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, one last thing. Yeah, sorry. I know. Perfect for a podcast. Ryan Flournoy, though, guys from Central Missouri, Iowa Western Community College, Southeast Missouri State, 6th-round pick in 2024. And he looks real. He looks pretty real. So I just wanted to give him a little bit of quasi shout out. But any other parting thoughts on this game?
No, I'm just disappointed that the Jets are this bad. Thought they'd be a little more interested in this, but looks like another long rebuild for them.
I know. And the offense does good stuff. It's not all perfect all the time. So that's what's even more frustrating. It's like
they had almost
we predicted the offense perfectly. I want to say that we've nailed the offense. This is exactly what I was picturing with them.
Yeah, they had almost a 50% success rate today on offense. And even like when they were losing in the middle portion of the game or the first 3 quarters, they still almost had like a 44% success rate. So, like some of these teams, they just got to finish these drives, man. You're moving, just punch it in. Come on, and especially if you're the Jets, like that was supposed to be your thing. You're supposed to be a lot better on the ground. And they fell 50 yards short of my rushing prediction today. But that was because they had to throw the ball so much in the second half. They still had 144 yards on only 22 attempts. So if we could have just got a few more rushing attempts, we would have been in there, man.
They're a perfect example of a turnover is more damaging to some teams than other teams. Like, and if they have a turnover, it's like, oh, that's it, game over. Like it's just we're done. Like, but some teams can survive. Like the Bills can survive a Josh Allen turnover because like, we'll get it back and we're going to score the next drive. So don't worry. Like, it's just how they're made up. So yeah, God, Mason Taylor got involved. All right, moving on to low number 3. Let's wrap this up. More teams that hit rock bottom for low number 3. We had the Dolphins. We mentioned them losing to the Panthers, who I said last week is their quarterback is unplayable. The Bengals defense actually put up a fight. They were trying some stuff, so I will give them credit, but Jake Browning's unplayable. And then the Ravens getting absolutely slaughtered by the Texans, whose offense, I know the Ravens defense is pretty bad right now, but Texas offensive line, not terrible the last couple of weeks. Might be the opponent, but actually some improvement. They ran a bunch of 3 receiver sets. I was really interested, so I'm going to look into them later this week. But any thoughts on these games, Chuck? Just the some sloppy performances from a couple of these teams.
The Ravens, I don't really got too much to say there. I mean, they're so banged up on defense, and they weren't playing all that well even to start the year. I mean, I'm a little surprised the Texans scored 44, but I'm not surprised that like C.J. Stroud was able to play against a defense that's in that state. You know, they just didn't look good. And then you got Cooper Rush started. I don't know how much you can expect there. I think the Dolphins, man, that is a terrible, terrible loss today to take, because they were in the first half. It looked like they were going to win by like 50 points. You know, I didn't even really want to watch it because Bryce Young was so bad to start this game. The offense couldn't do anything. Miami was capitalizing on the big plays that the defense was making. And then slowly but surely, they just kind of let them nickel and dime their way back into the game. Before you look at, you have kind of a gotta have it drive, not even a kind of, just to try and tie the game after they had given up the lead to the Panthers at the end. Man, for Tua to be just that discombobulated on gotta have it situation, it's just another continuation of him not being the guy, and they got to figure out what to do with that after the season. But Tep McMillan, another great game today. He looks like he's going to be an absolute monster in the league. Bryce Young bounced back nice in the second half and kind of did make some plays to help them out and push them across the finish line. So after what looked like it was going to be one of the worst games of the week, the Panthers came back and dumped on the abysmal Miami Dolphins, who just have to hit the restart button if they can.
I mean, the Panthers had plays that it was like a highlight reel play. So it was like Mitchell Evans, who I was like giving like a quasi shout out, but I wasn't expecting him to score. Like, you know, he's scoring a touchdown, a rookie tight end from Notre Dame. Rico Dowdle goes for 206 on the ground.
He's been pretty good for them. Rico Dowdle. Yeah.
He has. Remember when we did our all kind of like average team and Brian Robinson was that? Dowdle's kind of that for me. Like, he's the cutoff between like good and everybody else. Like, he's solid. Like, he's just a rock solid back. Yeah. No, he's a perfect fit for that offense. I mean, they can scout running backs. They got that going on in Carolina. Get these guys in free agency stuff. But no, Bryce Young did enough. Like you said, McMillan is just monstering everybody. They win 27-24. I thought Lions game was wonky. Like, saying that word again. But that game was just kind of like, felt like it was just going to be craziness like throughout. But again, I thought the Lions defense really, the Bengals defense had some nice moments, but like that Lions offense is just churning. Like, it's just like, all right, you got this. Here's Isaac Tesla for you. I'm sorry. Here's Sam Laporta. Here's David Montgomery throwing a touchdown. Like, it's just like it's just this offense just goes. And then, Texans, I think, are going to be one that, you know, it's going against that Ravens team, but they dropped a 40 burger. Good for them. Like that, the defense is still awesome. So like their defense can, even if the offense was the worst in the league, the defense could carry them in that division. Well, the division's a little more competitive now, but like the offense just being average is like huge. So, I mean, that's huge for them. So also want to give out extra credit to Bill, Mr. Krosky Merritt, helping carry the Commanders to a win over the Chargers. The Chargers are absolutely cursed. Just more guys just dropping like flies. Yeah. Just offensive line getting penalties. Quentin Johnson getting a fumble on a catch and run. But here we go. Bill and a nice little run. I mean, that Commanders run game, even his 2 touchdowns and the fumble he had all came on pin pull plays where you got guys pulling. I thought they just manipulated the Chargers defense, who has a good defense coordinator, Jesse Minter. They caught him in certain coverages and certain fronts. And I thought the Commanders run game win again. So again, shout out Bobby Johnson in that run game and Cliff Kingsbury, because Jane Daniels had some big plays, but it kind of had some up and down moments at times. You can tell he's figuring out how much he should scramble. He's still kind of trying to gauge himself, but this was not an easy win. I mean, I know the Chargers offensive line is absolutely horrid, but that's not an easy win to go in there to LA. So wanted to give it a little extra credit to Bill and the Commanders offense.
Yeah, that's a good game ball. The Chargers, man, they're just the Chargers. I don't know what else to say besides that.
I know it sounds lazy, but it's true.
Just got away from yet again, because they were up 10-0 to start this game. Things look good, and they did not score another points.
I know, and even like. I know. I mean, Commanders finished with 58% success rate. Only 7 third downs for the Commanders today. So I meant they were moving the ball on first and second down. Chargers had 10 penalties, 2 turnovers. Yeah, just you're not going to win many games.
I do think that this game for the Chargers is still kind of a reminder for me. Like, it takes time to build depth when you 18 months ago had a top 5 pick. You know, when you have injuries, you kind of start to see it like that. They're still building out this roster. They just happen to have a demigod at quarterback and some good receivers right now. So I'm interested to see where this Chargers seasons go from here because they're so banged up. But Herbert can still do the thing where he drags you on his back every once in a while. But I think today just did not enough around him to help out.
If you want to know how these defenses played outside the turnovers, the Commanders missed 19 tackles. The Chargers missed 13. They both missed over 20% of their tackles. Over 221 yards were allowed by both teams combined after missed tackles. So, but hey, Commanders got 5 sacks, which is just, I mean, that's the thing too, is like, okay, maybe didn't get all the pressures, like 30 pressures, like in the last couple of weeks, but like every pressure was like a free runner or Herbert like throwing a guy off. He had so many, he had a throw truly where he was on his knees, like already on his knees, getting pulled down, and he threw into the sideline. It was like, man, like every drop back looks like the movie Platoon. But no, yeah. I mean, again, Commanders pull another win. Competitive NFC East, competitive NFC overall, competitive NFL. That's what week 5 is. We're closing it out today. I'll be back on Tuesday with Matt with more takeaways from week 5. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice on social media. That's Charles McDonald. You can find him at 4Verts. Make sure to subscribe to us here at Football 301. Follow us, rate us wherever you get your podcasts. Also, watch us on YouTube. And thank you, whoever's watching us live right now on YouTube. You can check us out every Sunday around 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific after the late afternoon games wrap up. So make sure to subscribe to the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Thanks to Stone, Austin, and Madison behind the scenes for making us look and sound good. Thank you all for listening. See you guys next time.